Hello everybody, Lord Troll here, and welcome to my video. Today we're going to be doing a video review of a well-known YouTuber known as Taro Warwick, or Styx666. Before we get into the substance of the video, let me introduce the creator for everyone in my audience who isn't familiar. The channel is Styx666, also known as Styxhexenhammer666. He's been on YouTube for a long time, since 2008 actually. He's built a large YouTube audience of over 502,000 subscribers, covering politics, current events, and cultural commentary. His videos are usually presented as news analysis or independent reporting. In this video, he discusses what he frames as rodent contamination in the food supply. What I want to do here is separate verifiable fact from independent framing, because those two things are not the same, and how issue is framed matters, especially when it involves public health. One thing that I think is fair to address up front is the presentation and credibility. Six presents himself as a news commentator, but he does so while adopting a pirate-themed persona and wardrobe. It's his brand, he's free to do that, but it raises legitimate question. How seriously should viewers take claims about public health and food safety when you're being delivered as entertainment first and analysis second? That doesn't automatically make him wrong, but it does mean the claims deserve closer scrutiny, not emotional reaction. So what I want to do here is slow this down, look at what actually happened, what the evidence shows, and whether the conclusions being drawn match the facts, or whether the framing exaggerates the scope of the problem in a way that could cause unnecessary alarm. So let's get right into it. So let's take a look at his YouTube channel here. We'll take a look at his oldest thumbnails here. You can see he started his channel, he was really young, maybe always dressed in black, some leather. Looks a little eccentric, right? His newest videos, latest videos, he's picked up this pirate persona and this devil character. So you can see he does go live. He tries to go live about every day. We'll try to review them too here in the future. But let's get into this video.
All right, everyone, we have a major food recall in the United States, apparently involving Minnesota, North Dakota, and Indiana.
Really?
Thousands of popular products, including Diet Coke Pringles, recalled over rodent contamination concerns.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
indeed. Gold Star Distributions, based in Minnesota, issued a sweeping
Okay, so a distribution center, not the actual manufacturers.
recall covering food and beverage items, health and beauty products, household goods, and more, according to a notice from the Food and Drug Administration. The
Okay.
recalled items, distributed at stores in Minnesota, North Dakota, and Indiana, include a wide range of grocery items, including Diet Coke, Nutella,
Really?
Fruit Loops, Pringles, Cheerios, Folgers Instant Coffee, Sour Patch Kids,
Oh,
Fiji Water, Jolly Ranchers, and Skittles. And then there's a litany of other items that are included here. Here's the
okay.
problem.
What's the problem?
Rodent contamination is potentially a big danger. Polio was effectively eradicated for the most part in the Western world because of sanitation, grain
Sure.
storage especially, but other things as well.
Right.
When you have rodent contamination, you have a little bit of a problem because not
Yeah.
everyone is still getting vaccinated for polio. There are a lot of
Okay.
families that don't vaccinate their kids at all, let alone for polio. You could end up with an outbreak, and that would be a problem. A big, big problem.
Sure, it
Because
could
it can
be.
cause permanent paralysis. Just look at FDR and how fucked up he was.
Oh,
With
wow.
metal crutches, he was capable of generally perambulating around more or less. And
Perambulating,
braces
huh?
on. Other than that, he was a little bit on the more messed up side than the average person. And this is a big problem. This is a huge health concern, actually. So I suggest that if you're in...
It's not as big as you're making it seem, I don't think. I don't you're gonna make it come off here like it's actually in the food, I think, when it's not. This was found in a distribution center where the manufacturer delivers their boxes to, and the contamination was found in these warehouses. And let's remember that they were shipped from the manufacturer to this distribution center. So it was probably like you think of Skittles. Like let's think of a gas station. They're individually wrapped out of a little box, right? Well, the distribution, the manufacturer's sending a bigger box with all those little boxes in it. So that's the box that's at the warehouse. So it's not actually in the food supply. Let's remember that.
In one of those affected states and you have any of these products that are on the list here, I would suggest destroying them. I would not suggest eating them because apparently the storage facility.
And that is fair enough. Whether they were handled, maybe not with care or gloves and things like that, and put on the shelf, the packages could be contaminated. But it's the let's remember this stuff is not in the food from the manufacturers.
Storage and processing facility was overrun by rodents and they were shitting everywhere. Rodent shit is not something that you want to deal with. You can get sick just from a house mouse, basically. Rodents are no joke. They're a main vector of disease, actually, in human beings, because they happen to be mammalian, and they carry all sorts of weird diseases. Some of
Very
them
true.
probably not even discovered yet, so that's a big problem. Just saying, I would say this is a fairly major news story, but I'm only really seeing it covered by a couple of news articles.
Let's add that this video that Styx did here come out this last Friday. I don't know what the date was offhand. The 28th maybe. And this news was reported December 26th of last year.
This is actually a little bit odd. I would think with such a major recall, I would imagine that more people would be talking about it.
But it's not a major recall in the sense that it was national. Let's remember this is only regional because it's a distribution center there, Tarl.
But instead, I'm only seeing a couple of articles about it. This happens sometimes, usually because they've paid the companies a little bit of blood money. Hey, can you not talk about the fact?
See, now you're trying to frame it a little different when this is actually just a regional problem and not a national or global problem, dude.
Fact that there's rodent shit in the Fruit Loops? Yeah, thank you for that. That would be nice because they want to sell more products. This is different from a normal food recall. Normally, it's like, hey, we made a batch of, canned beans. Some of them might have botulism, so we're recalling the kidney beans. Okay, well, no harm, no foul, basically. It can't be helped sometimes. The heating system didn't heat enough.
So tell me, what is this case like?
Brine was, not acidic enough or something like that. The pickles were not made properly. And so you get, a couple people get sick or something. The mushrooms that we sold, we accidentally included a couple of Amanita muscaria. There was actually an incident. This was, I believe, in the 1960s. I think it was in Europe. That they had milk and a bunch of cows had eaten some Amanita muscaria mushrooms. And they sold
He's
the
going to
milk.
lose me here.
And even though it's pasteurized, of course, this just takes the muscarine and turns it into mucimol, which makes it less, unsafe.
Part of his problem here, too, is he uses all these huge words that maybe people in his audience may not quite understand. He's talking outside of his caliber.
By the way. And a bunch of people got high off of the Amanita milk, and that was pretty funny. I think that was in the 60s, if I remember correctly. Food contamination can be a problem. It's often associated with home canning and things like that. Although I would point out that home canning is probably safer, assuming the person knows what they're doing.
This has nothing to do with home canning. We're talking about a distribution center being nasty with rodent droppings, dude. Come on now.
Actually, than industrial production. In industrial production, you can. There was another case. This was in the 2000s, if I remember correctly. Somebody found a mouse half dissolved in a can of Monster energy drink or something. This sort of thing can happen. Keep in mind that.
This is not what had happened, though, dude. Let's take a look at the link he leaves in the description for his source. This goes right to an archive. It's archived today or something, but this is all Fox News stuff. Every single one of them. I've never clicked on one until today. I was curious, like, what is his source? Where is he getting this information? And there's this, it's showing Coca-Cola, like right outside of its packages. You don't buy them typically in a store, individual cans like this. They come in a case, cardboard, and then when the manufacturer sells something like this, it's palletized on a pallet and then shrink wrapped and then it sitting in the warehouse. So this is his source, and this is where the only information he gets. Like all of his articles are that way, all from that archive today.
The food standards in the United States allow for a limited amount of insects and shit like that in the food. Literally, maggots and mealyworms and things like that are in your food. You have probably eaten them unknowingly.
It's probably true.
There might have been a maggot in your rice. You're not going to notice it at all. That's not a big problem, but it is interesting. Like I think it said, per can of mushrooms, you can have 3 maggots in it or something like that.
He is always trying to be the smartest person in the room, when actually to me right now he's just sounding dumb.
That, according to FDA guidelines, by the way. The government's really keeping you safe. I would prefer to prepare my own food so that I know that it's more safe, honestly. Growing...
And I think you guys can all see what I mean. Like, how can you take this guy seriously when he's wearing a pirate outfit? And them sunglasses, underneath them sunglasses, are his regular eyewear.
And canning your own food is infinitely superior in every possible way. I've made like pickles and pickled beets and shit like that before. None of them ever had botulism or something. After 2 years, they were still perfectly edible. Actually, I ate some of those pickled beets. They were delicious. It's great doing your home canning and so forth. But in this particular instance, you've got a risk of polio. Polio has been found in rodent populations. It's just that most of the population is vaccinated against polio, so it has not really become a problem. There have been a couple of polio cases over the last few years in the United States.
I'm getting bored with him. Let's take a look at some other news articles when I researched this myself. So this was, let's see, this was the first one. And of course, the first link is from a Fox News affiliate out of Atlanta, which is weird. Nowhere near where this was reported at. But I went through this, I read all this, and again, it just shows grocery stores. This isn't showing a warehouse with boxes or palletized goods. And, you know, I kind of went through these and highlighted some just key things that kind of point out that it's not what this guy's kind of saying, like it's in the food. But Gold Star Distribution recalls thousands of food items, pet, beauty products, and drug distribution from 3 states, according to the notice. Blah, blah, blah. But really, all that you see in these is, like right here, that products held at this facility. Products were held. All these articles, you know, it's just that little bit that says held. Products were held. So even the news, like what little news captured this event, they didn't even really frame it right and explain the actual situation. All right, let's keep going.
That's basically it. But not everyone is vaccinated for it, again, because of the anti-vax sort of thing. Mostly hippie-trippy families, the Amish to an extent, and then a handful of survivalists that simply don't believe in pharmaceutical companies. And while I'm amenable to the basic premise of not trusting pharmaceutical companies, not without good reason, getting
let me tell everybody too, this guy has recently just said that he's terminally ill, and I believe he's self-diagnosed. I don't really know what that's all about. I imagine it's some grift. He keeps saying he's going to die soon, things like that. So I don't know. Him now talking about pharmaceuticals and him not liking the pharmaceutical companies, things like that. I imagine that he's not going to be taking any drugs for his ailments.
Vaccinated for polio at the very least is probably a good idea. But it was found in sewers in Connecticut and in New York City, if I remember correctly, in rodent populations there. So if you get rodents in the food, their droppings are a main vector for polio in human beings. And if this
also Listeria and Salmonella, among other things.
This were like, hey, the rodents are going to cause the common cold. Nobody would care. Polio is a little bit different from the common cold now, isn't it? That's about all. Peace out.
Well, that's how he ends his videos every time. So I did just want to add into this that when I researched this and I come across this Gold Star Distribution release, it was released December 26, 2025. So this was late last year, just about a month ago. So he's late on his news. And I do also want to add that I got to a list here at the towards the end of this article, and it was listing like mom and pops, delis, gas stations, things like that. So right away, I kind of knew it was a small distribution center, not coming from the manufacturer and the manufacturer's distribution centers, because it didn't have places like Walmart or Myers, big stores where the manufacturer might just distribute to. So that was kind of like the key thing for me to go, aha, this isn't what this guy is trying to make this come off as, right? So basically, in this situation, I conclude that Styx is framing this a little too broadly. Based on the reporting, this involves a regional distributor with unsanitary warehouse conditions, not a nationwide food supply issue. Under FDA regulations, distributors and storage facilities are inspected independently, and violations at one facility do not imply contaminations across the manufacturer's entire distribution network. Large manufacturers use segmented, contracted distribution chains and would not route national inventory through a small third-party warehouse supply limited to local outlets. When issues are systemic, the FDA issues national recalls, and mainstream media coverage follows, which hasn't happened here. This is why this isn't dominating national news. It appears to be a localized failure, not a collapse of the food chain. It's a serious sanitation issue, of course, but scale and context matter to avoid unnecessary panics. So I imagine there will be more to come from this guy Styx here. Live streams, videos, and things like that. I will be reviewing him. So thanks for coming and watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and till next time, everybody. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Troll. Yeah. Throw them frauds in the chat. I know y'all heard the Lord troll when he told you that. Yeah. Throw them frauds in the chat.